Hello, and welcome back to another episode in the Dev Spotlight series. Thank you for joining us again. Super excited today to introduce you our amazing guest, Ellie, who's the genius and the developer and the visionary behind Bello, which we'll get into in a minute. But yeah, I guess I can hand over to you. Please take it away. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Who are you and where are you from?
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate it, Tom. Like you said, I'm Ellie. I am the co-founder and CTO of Bello, the engineering, and with my co-founder, Adam Levy, who leads all things marketing, product vision. He's an absolute genius, and I'm very lucky to be working with him. My background, though, is engineering. I've been coding since high school. I went to school for computer science at Temple University in Philadelphia. And at university is kind of when I dabbled in starting with the crypto world. First heard about Bitcoin in 2017 in my math building. And I actually took a semester in my emerging technology class, did a whole semester on blockchain technology and distributed ledgers and things like that. During school, I was very passionate about diversification in computing. And so I started an organization to help teach computer science to different local
Amazing.
areas within Philadelphia where I went to school. And so led a group of around 30 or 40 students to do that. And so I think at the time I was very much locked into this more Web2 journey that my college was kind of pushing
Yeah.
towards. So interned during school at Lockheed Martin doing aerospace engineering, working for basically a team that helped write code to test different circuits that went into rockets and things like that. It was a very cool experience. And then from there, worked part-time at Comcast headquarters, which is in Philadelphia, building out Xfinity.com. So doing very much full stack dev. And then at that time, I graduated college, worked full-time for a little bit for them, and actually moved out to LA to work for NBC doing cloud engineering. So building out a lot of the back-end architecture for Peacock and sort of all that content delivery that they had there. And that's when I fell really deep in the crypto rabbit hole through NFTs actually. And my passion for music is kind of what spurred the interest there, and started learning more about it, started learning Solidity, attended my first ETH Global Hackathon virtually at the time because it was COVID, and decided in May of 2021 that I was going to jump full-time into Web3, working for a company called Lunar Crush, which does data analytics for more social data in crypto. Worked for there for about a year. While there, met my co-founder Adam at my first ETH Denver, actually. We basically hit it off immediately, and he came to me a few months later with this idea for helping creators with data. And so we took this idea to ETH Amsterdam and ended up winning the hackathon there and have been working on it since then. So that's a little bit about my journey and who I am.
What an incredible journey, I must say. It's not too dissimilar to my own journey, actually. I used to work for another aerospace engineering company over in Europe called Thales.
Okay.
Was a developer there for a long time. Then I got into Web 2, more full stack stuff. Still in aerospace, I was working on drones and unmanned aerial vehicles and stuff, which was really cool. And then, crypto got me. And now we're here. I got hooked on the metaverse and spent a lot of time.
Lunar Crush was my first full-time Web3 company.
What was it like working there?
Definitely not a big team. It was the third or fourth engineer that was working there. It's a very small team. And I think it very much, for me, coming from a company like NBC to that role was such a transformative experience in the sense of going from being a cog in the machine at an enterprise company with hundreds of thousands of people to where everything you ship is being used by a user within days, right? And so I think I very much started to appreciate that sense of development, that quick iteration and fast turnaround from we have an idea, we create the mock-ups, we iterate on it, design, implement, etc. There's now somebody's using it right away. Honestly, from a developer growth experience was really incredible. And then I think just being so tapped into the crypto world was really something that fueled my passion even more.
I agree. It is an interesting transition when you go from feeling like a cog in the machine, and sometimes you're working on projects that are so big you're never going to see the end of them in your time on them, to going through to so many small iterative projects that make a big impact to quite a lot of people and quite a lot of people in the community. It changes your way of engineering and the way of problem solving, because you suddenly very quickly understand which problems need to be solved quickest and first and put them at the top of your roadmap. And you have access to this amazing community that are going to help you understand what do we need to do first.
Yeah, it's funny because I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday actually, and she was like, "Oh, like, are you going to hire our one other engineer friends from Philadelphia?" And I was like, "I'm not sure, blah blah blah." But basically, because I think there's definitely a difference between being a strong engineer, a strong enterprise engineer versus a
Yeah,
startup engineer. And then there's a difference between being a startup engineer, I think, in Web 2 versus a Web 3 startup engineer, just because of how quickly everything cycles. And especially with the work that I'm doing at Bello, this industry is so young and still being formed. And so having to quickly make entire big shifts and leaps to meet where the market's at
yeah,
is extremely crucial. So it's definitely not something that everyone is cut out to do or even wants to do, because
yeah.
I work all the time. So it's something
That's the
that,
other thing they don't tell you. Yeah,
yeah, for sure. But what you were saying is very true in terms of not being the cog in the machine. Like when I was working at NBC, I was building out this extremely complex microservice architecture where there was 30 different services, and I was in maybe 6 of the services. Now at Bello, we're working with signing our first enterprise customers. And over the weekend, I was like, well, I think I can build out the enterprise admin section. We've never had anything like that before. And no, over the weekend, from back in architecting the database to making express endpoints to designing on the front end to implementing the front end, knocked it all out in like 2 days. And it's something
incredible.
that we'll be able to like start with this coming week. So you definitely don't get that at a big company.
No, we should dive into Bello. I know that it's a very powerful creator analytics tool that really
Totally.
is designed to help people understand more about their community through numbers and interactions. But perhaps you can give us a more detailed rundown of what it is.
Yeah, exactly. You hit the nail on the head in terms of it is an analytics tool for Web3 creators, helping them grow their audience and essentially monetize through NFT sales. I can walk you through Bello in terms of like a case study, I think is a really
Please, yeah, love to.
helpful way.
Yeah,
We had a very active music collective that uses our product. They're called Navak Collective. And they were about to do their first drop on Sound XYZ, which is a music NFT marketplace, with one of their creators, Annika Rose. And Annika had never launched an NFT. So what they did was is they came to Bello and they created a custom search, which essentially allowed them to put in
hmm,
multiple different contract addresses for other pop artists who are in her specific niche.
yeah,
So they put all those addresses in, they click search, and what Bello does is provide them a variety of curated metrics to help them dive into Web3 for the first time. So we showed them things like what price to sell their NFT at, what time to sell their NFT
yeah,
based on behaviors and transaction data. We show them what communities to market to based on what those collectors currently have in their wallet. We even provide them with information like the churn and retention of those holders. How like much do they hold on to those
amazing.
collections versus
Yeah,
let them go? And a variety of other metrics. From there, though, we actually give you an entire list, basically table view of all of those different holders with a ton of different filter criteria that you can apply to them.
yeah,
So you could apply filters and saying, I want to figure out all of the people in this collection or in this group of addresses that hold a Bored Ape, have
mm,
FWB token, and have a wallet age over 5 years, or let's say 2 years old, and maybe have a net worth of over like 50K. So you can apply
yeah,
all this really complex and or logic to it. And from there, we give you their Twitter handles and Lens. So you can actually tweet
yeah,
or send them a message on Lens. And the final step, which Anna could do, is actually create an allow list based on those addresses that she filtered however she wanted for her drop coming up on Sound. So
yeah.
she sold out the drop instantly, pretty much from using a lot of this data that we had. And that's what we've been able to help a lot of other creators do, whether it's small time creators or bigger time brands, really just
Yeah.
using the power of data to be able to make actionable decisions that aren't just guesses.
Yeah, that's it. It takes all the guesswork out of it. I work in marketing and, I do a lot of marketing analytics. And what you're talking about is exactly what Web 2 tools have had for the last 10 years. They can get into very detailed understanding of their audience and how it segments and the demographics and their spending habits and all that. And the beauty of the blockchain in many ways is that that information isn't held by some other governing authority. It's transparent for us all to inspect.
Yeah.
Inspecting it can be quite a laborious task, and you need to have some technical knowledge unless you use a fantastic tool like Bello that brings all of that information to your fingertips. Yeah, it's a really impressive tool, so congratulations on building it. And I'm excited to see the enterprise aspects of that as well and see where that goes.
Yeah, so Bello was initially built for small time creators for a variety of reasons, but most primarily they're the easiest to work with in terms of iterate on their needs. So we have many different small to mid time creator, whether they're music artists or small PFP projects or
Yeah.
any kind of like visual artists. And those are people that intentionally started with for the fact that we could communicate through Telegram with them, launch new features, ask them to do user interview calls with us. And
Yeah.
so we did a ton of early on feedback with these types of people, giving them access to the product, onboarding them kind of one by one initially. And now it's a little bit, we have a more automated flow for onboarding. And since then, we've kind of realized that we have a product that can be used for small time creators, but the same data is even more so, if not similarly applicable to these bigger brands, IPs, enterprise level clients.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we've kind of honed in our focus on in the past few weeks, months even, is delivering a very incredible user experience for these bigger brands and IPs. And as the market grows, we'll be launching our freemium and premium model where anyone can sign up for Bello and get access to the data is sort of how
Yeah.
we're thinking about it.
How exciting. That's so cool. Our UX engineer, Nathan at MailChain, will be over the moon to hear that there's someone that's actually done proper user experience testing and gone to the community and talked to them because, wow, it's no secret that Web3 UX and UI is not as good as it could be. It's a little clunky in a lot of places. But that's really interesting that you were able to, from the early days, start talking with users, getting those insights, giving them access to it, and letting them play around and
For
feel out
sure.
for the tool.
Honestly, it was
Yeah.
extremely crucial. I don't know what Bella would
Mm.
have been without doing that. Some of our
Yeah.
actually probably biggest metrics have come directly from a user being like, damn, I wish I knew when to sell my NFT. I mean, this data is all there. We can aggregate it in this certain
Yeah.
way
Yeah.
to show this information. And so many of our metrics have come directly from people asking for them. And we're very much built for our community. While Adam and I have a
Mm.
very deep hands-on grasp of the ecosystem that we're building for, we are two people and don't know everything, and so having this open feedback
Yeah.
loop is super crucial.
That's an amazing story and what a journey to go on. So, as a developer, what would you say has been your highlight of working and building Bello? What was the best experience? What's Ellie's top highlights of Web3 so far?
So there's a lot. I think it's by far the most fun I've had as an engineer probably ever. I think highlighting first hackathons is a big thing for me.
Yeah.
I am a big hackathon ETH Global person or ETH Denver. I've done, I don't even know how many of them now at this point. I've been a finalist several times at those events. And hackathon energy runs through me. This
Yeah.
sort of come up with an idea, find a team really quickly, execute on the version. How can you gut everything from this idea and just make it the bare bones and run with it and make something happen? And that feeling of within 48 hours having something tangible that you can work and play with and use is such a rewarding experience to be able to do, especially in Web3. And
Yeah.
so being able to travel all over the world and do that is probably one of the coolest things. Maybe even cooler than that, though, is getting to build my own project from the ground up and being the CTO of Bello and now hiring other engineers that work for us is such a rewarding experience to all be aligned on this vision and building towards the engineering efforts that we all want to see come out. I think some of the biggest like lifts of working on Bello is the amount of data that it actually takes to do what we do is quite
Mm.
astronomical. And it's been a very fun technical problem to be able to actually show you all of this data in almost real time, if not real time. A lot of the other tools that are building something in the marketing analytics space are oftentimes they basically like have a certain amount of contracts that they allow you to search and they like manually add them or do something and they go get the data. But Bello, we actually allow you to search any NFT contract that's ever existed. So
Yeah.
you can get that data almost instantly. And that's not something that a lot of our competitors even started to think about early on. And that was like our vision from the very beginning is like we want a simple search
Yeah.
and get results. So keeping that idea in mind and building for that has been a lot of fun, great experience. I think something we pride ourselves at Bello is just like we ship often. We're always shipping.
I think another unique aspect of Web3 is it is a sort of breeding ground for developers and engineers that like a challenge and want to try and solve a unique problem, but also because it's so new and still evolving, it has so many excellent opportunities for someone to start an entire product and start an entire company, which is incredible. I like to sort of wrap up these discussions with a very simple question, which is, what advice would you give to anyone looking to become a Web3 developer or migrating from Web2 to becoming a Web3 developer?
I think I'll go back to kind of what I started talking about earlier. When I started in my journey in Web3, I knew nothing about Solidity. I didn't know anything about blockchain data by any means. It was very new to me. I was a pretty decent engineer from the Web2 standpoint, but Web3, there are different tools and tricks
Yeah.
to where I started. I think it was like Austin Griffith's Scaffold ETH, like basically how you can
Yeah.
deploy your first smart contract. And I attended ETH Global, the virtual online hackathon they had in 2020. That to me was such a great way to jump in and get started. And virtual can be a little challenging. So we're fortunate now that most of these events are
Yeah.
in public, or in person rather. So if you can, if there's one nearby you, like go find an ETH hackathon. You'll learn so much. You'll meet incredible people. You'll leave there like energized in a way that you probably didn't even think was possible. I always say that the energy and creativity in a hackathon is unmatched, honestly. They're true
Mm.
artists that are
Yeah.
there building these new innovative ideas. Build something, create something, ship it, have fun with it. That's
Yeah.
my
Get your hands dirty. You can't go wrong. Just get stuck in. Yeah. Awesome. Well, that's perfect. That's such a good way to wrap up this. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, Ellie, and learning about your journey. Very excited for the next stages of Bello. We'll be keeping a keen eye on it. Thank you so much for your time. I hope you have a fantastic day, and I look forward to speaking to you in the future.
Thank you very much, Tom. This was awesome. Talk to you soon.
Cheers.